For every drummer, every genre, every kind of kit. Unlock your creativity and explore your sonic universe. This is sensory percussion. If you can imagine it, you can play it.
Hey, welcome back to the Drum Rundown. We're here today at the Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm with Jay Postones of TesseracT.
Hello.
What is going on, man?
What is going on? It's the last day of the tour, and the kit is all set up, which is great. That helps me play a show later on. And yeah, man, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be doing this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we were talking to the tour manager before about you guys are just way too tired to like fight back on anything, so it's just like shuffle you out here, last day of tour.
Yeah, that's it. To be honest, at this point, we're also like used to the daily routine that it's all just comfortable and nice.
Yeah,
so yeah,
good.
This is like, it's kind of perfect timing.
This is either breaking up the monotony or just throwing a wrench in a perfect tour that had no hiccups until today. So
yeah, this is going to be the hiccup. Right?
Yeah.
All the mistakes.
Well, thank you very much for having us. This is such a beautiful kit. I was shooting the B-roll before and just drum porn.
Yeah.
The Kelly shoe inside.
Mm-hmm.
Just the acrylic with the clear heads is always striking. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you got to acrylic, because you said it was visual first and then now it's on the records in studio.
Yeah, so literally that. I mean, it was visual first. We wanted, we had an idea of how we wanted the stage to look when we're performing, and because of we basically have no amps on stage. It's drums and people.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let's make the drums a bit of a spectacle. How can we do that? Well, we've got all these lights around us, loads of lights we travel with. Let's have them shine through the kit and make it kind of a centerpiece on the stage. And acrylic was just kind of the natural choice for that, because anything else would block it, right? And it just so happens that this sounds amazing as well. It's a DW Design Series acrylic kit. So it's not one of the collector's ones. It's like a kind of a mid-range kit even, but it doesn't sound mid-range. It sounds fantastic. We used it on TesseracT's 5th record that we've recently put out, The War Being. And I challenge anyone to say that the toms and things do not sound good, because I think they sound wonderful.
Right.
I'm using, it's an 8, 10 and 12 rack toms up here. 18, because I'm a freak.
Big boy on the right side.
I just want it to be an extension of the kick.
Yeah.
So that's like super massive and super finger tight. And then a 16 over here, which if I'm being totally honest, I thought was an 18. So I thought
Honest mistake.
Yeah, I thought I already had an 18, so I ordered another one. And then when it arrived, I'm like, they're different sizes, but it ends up working nicely because there's like a tonal difference when I'm playing, and I only really use it for build-ups, as like tom swells during, you know, that kind of stuff, instead of being on the one side. And having the slightly different tones actually just fills it out a little bit more. So it was a happy accident.
Right.
Let's say that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, the happy accident to get to this at all, because you're going visual and then you bring it into the studio to record. What were the immediate challenges chasing tones? Were there, because I'm sure there's a learning curve when you go acrylic and you put it under the microscope that is a microphone, right?
Yeah, I mean, our approach was, fortunately we had the gift of time. You know, we were in the studio, I'd got 6 weeks there, which no drummer gets 6 weeks in a studio.
That's an eternity, dude.
Exactly. It was so good. So the first, I want to say like 4 or 5 days, we were just on tone quest. We were setting up, not just this kit, we set up like the kits in the studio, because the studio had got a load of different kits. We put the same mics on, all the different toms. We did like the A-Bing, but with all these different kits. And just did a blind test in the control room, which ones of these sound best. And these sounded the best.
How surprised were you? I mean, that's like a really surprising thing, right? Because you're going to be like, oh, it's the maple, or it's the this or the that, and it's acrylic.
It was, I mean, I'm used to getting these to sound the way I want them to sound as well.
Right.
So every kit's got a different sound, and there's a note that each tom wants to reach, and certain heads are going to get there, and certain heads are going to be like a bit more dry and whatever. And with my head combo, I'm Evans G2 top, G1 bottom. I'm very used to getting this kit to sound how I want it to sound. So then trying to get another kit to sound that way, that's probably a part of it. I wasn't used to tuning another kit that way. That's probably the best explanation, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we tried maybe 4 or 5 other kits that were there, and it just worked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool story.
It was super easy.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of days, good to go.
If it's working, don't fight it.
Exactly that. Yeah.
That's cool. And so we have Evans G2s on top, G1s on bottom. How did you get to that combo?
Some recommendation, but also just trial and error. You know, I've used the I don't know what they're called, the ones that have got the stripe around them. The Evans EC2, is it that?
EC2.
EC2s. I've used those for ages. When I had a maple mahogany DW collector's kit, and they worked really nice on that. But yeah, it just opens it up a little bit more, because the toms, there's kind of less resonance with the acrylic, believe it or not. They tend to be a little duller. So having heads that open it up rather than something infused into the head that kills some of that transient, that worked really well.
Yeah.
So, the G1 on top ended up being a bit too lively. The G2 top, G1 bottom works really nicely. And then every now and then I'll do a bit of the moon gel or the Meinl, the drum honey stuff, just to kill. There's a little bark sometimes that you have to kill. But the 8 and the 10, they almost tune themselves. I can kind of just put the heads on them. I know what the tension has to be, and then I'm like, yep, that's exactly how it should be.
Cool.
It's kind of crazy. The 12 likes to give you a little bit of like, oh, I'm not sure if this is going to work. You're going to have to play with me a little bit more, but we get that to where we want, usually with like a quarter of a moon gel or something. The 18, honestly, like I said earlier, it's just an extension of the kick. So there's hardly any like resonance there. It's just dead. And to get there, honestly, these are finger tight, and then a little tweak, and the same on the bottom. I just get that kind of rumble or the drop that you can get, you know, when you hit a tom and it goes boom.
Yeah.
Try and get rid of that, which is just a combination of getting the top and bottom to speak to each other. Same over here. I'm just trying to make it an extension.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's with heads, it's always a bit of trial and error. I spoke to a friend the other day that said you got to try sticking a coated head on the bottom. I'm like,
That's
okay.
a thing. Yeah.
Never even thought of that. It might ruin the effect with an acrylic kit, I don't know, but I suddenly have these white discs upside down, but I'll try it sometime.
Cool. Yeah, we've definitely seen that out in the wild.
Okay.
And it's a thing.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it.
Yeah. And you were talking about triggers on these, but that's just in terms of like gating.
Yeah, so I get this question quite a bit on the internet, like, oh, you're triggering all these samples, and we're not doing that. We are using the triggers as a means to open the microphone. So everything is off until I hit it, and then it opens, lets the sound through, and then closes a second or so later. And it just means that we're not having to deal with bleed all the time. And you know, the floor toms, especially on subby stages, they're going to shake, and you're going to get all this resonance. And it just helps control that, because until I hit it, that microphone isn't open, collecting all of that extra sound information that we don't need. We don't really have to dial all that in every day, because it's the same.
Right.
You know, you don't have to change gates for different stages. So yeah, that's all that's about. It's on every single drum. That's our sound engineer, Johnny, is responsible for this clever feat of engineering. I don't know that I'm smart enough to set all that up, but it certainly helps me live, and it helps. It's one of these, we talk about these all the time, these 1% that you add all these little things on each time, just this little bit, this thing that does something a little bit better, and then you put something on top of that and on top of that, and you end up with a clearer overall sound, and that's one of these things.
Yeah, and not to be so like literal with it, there's a clear kind of thing that you're using to stay out of the stage mics, because you are up here alone with no amps and everything.
Yeah.
We took them down for the interview, but we have them obviously like just side, which is the baffles, which are keeping you out of the stage mics. And so that's another just 1% thing that's kind of wrangling everything in for you guys.
Exactly that. Yeah, if you're at one of the TesseracT shows, you'll see the Mickey Mouse ears in front of the kit, and it's just to stop these things going directly into the vocal mic, because that is what happens. And I mentioned the frequency range. I don't know what it is because I'm not that guy, but
It's 100K.
It's something K.
Yeah.
Numbers and then K at the end. Some of those Ks go into the vocal mic, and we don't want that. The baffles help prevent that, and they were, like I say, a couple of $100 from Sweetwater. They work amazingly well. You can get super expensive ones. I don't know what the difference is, but considering we are, the guitars are direct, bass is direct, it's vocals and it's drums on stage. Any separation we can get between that is a bonus, and it just helps the cymbals stay in the microphones and then out of in the PA rather than just being loud and everywhere. And it helps those frequencies not go into the vocal mic, so we can push the vocals a bit more before it gets cluttered.
Yeah, cool. And sticking in Johnny's Tricks kind of category, I saw the Solomon Sub Kick. It's just a very, very cool thing. How did you guys get to that kind of choice, or is that just front of house?
Honestly, it's all front of house. All the microphone choices are front of house. Johnny changes things out. We did have, what they call the typically Shure vocal mics that podcasters use, the big fluffy looking things. We had those on the hi-hats for a while, but they weren't quite working. But yeah, the sub kick, I mean, that's just, it's a speaker with the impedance reversed, isn't it? So it's capturing the subby stuff instead of putting it out. So all the low frequencies that you'd have to kind of emulate before, that's just getting it and putting it out of the PA.
And the Kelly shoe inside.
And the Kelly shoe.
So awesome. Looks incredible in the acrylic.
Yeah, that I will say, I did install it.
You did?
I did, yeah. I can do some of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kelly shoe is brilliant. It's a little horseshoe shaped thing. You put a microphone in it and it's suspended by these elastic straps inside your kick drum, and it just prevents like the transmission of anything through a stand into the microphone that you don't want. It's completely, relatively isolated.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Gone are the days of tossing a microphone on an old blanket, I guess.
Although, I don't know if you can see in the bottom of here, we've got this foam thing going on the bottom. I think the name of it is on the front for anyone that wants to grab one. If you've got that flat Shure mic, is it the 91 that people put in the kick drums? That's for this. So it dampens the head slightly either side, and then the 91 sits in this little the channel in between.
Okay. Very cool.
Put a bit of Velcro on the bottom of it and it doesn't move. If you forget the Velcro though, the mic's going to move all the way towards the beaters, and then you're going to be hitting the microphone and it sounds and feels terrible, especially when it's going into a butt kicker seat.
Right.
So don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I'm sitting on top of it. You have the Gigster.
I do.
And it's coming off of this Evans level 360 batter head on the bass drum.
It's coming off of everything.
It's coming off of it. I mean, you feel all of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So I used to just put the kick drum through the BC2 over here, and that's what I thought you did. I thought you just put the kick drum into it, until I started working with the sound guys that we're working with now. They're like, put everything in there, put your snare and your toms and everything. I'm like, okay.
Snare too.
Yeah. Snare, all the toms, absolutely everything. There are low frequencies that when you've got your in-ears in, just get blocked out. And you can hit things, you end up having to compensate. Even with a clean IEM mix, I hit harder to compensate for what I get lost in terms of like haptics, like, the feedbacks that you just feel it in your body. That all just kind of gets lost on a stage, especially on a riser. This thing puts it back. And when you've only got it coming from the kick, yes, that's great. It feels awesome. It's like being on a massive stadium stage when you're in a little club. You can make it feel like that. But when you've got everything else going in, you're meeting what you're kind of otherwise losing. Like if you're in a nice studio somewhere, you can get it to sound and feel amazing. You might not need something like this, but it just makes it a lot more controllable on a stage. I mean, you can have a go of it in a minute. It's kind of wild when you've got toms and everything.
Definitely sat with one where it's just the kick and it's definitely like the thing, and obviously everybody that uses them loves them, but I don't think I've ever sat with anybody that has the whole kit going through up to the butt.
It's a game changer. Yeah. Get your kit in your butt. It's
Get
brilliant.
your kit in the butt.
Get the kit in the butt. I do it with my Roland kit at home. I've got a TD50 and the whole thing goes into it and then in the bum, and it's a game changer in terms of feel live, like the feel, the energy that you have, and monitoring.
Yeah.
Like I say, it gives you everything that even the best IEMs can't give you. They can't give you real bass. They can't give you that thump that you kind of need to feel as though you're playing drums.
Yeah.
This thing can.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of these things, Porter and Davies, they do a Gigster, they do a BC2, they do all these different amps and feeds into like a speaker in the seat. Think of it as a subwoofer in a home cinema system. If you if you don't have that, it's going to sound a bit crap.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And for in-ears, what monitors are you using for your in-ears?
I'm gonna have to look at them. They are Jerry Harvey Audio. Okay. I think it's like V something 16 something. I don't know if it's written on it. It's not written on it, but yeah, Jerry Harvey Audio. I've had them probably 6-7 years, so I'll probably need to switch them out because they say was it every 4 or 5 years your ear shape changes, and I can tell that live.
Little leak.
Yeah, if I have a plain face, then it's fine. But as soon as I make a drum face, everything just starts leaking. So it's they're great though. They are really good. I just might need to get new molds.
Yeah, and do you know how many drivers those have for different frequencies? Is there multiple drivers in those or some? Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Great answer.
No, I don't. If I'm honest, I could guess, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, don't guess.
But I went straight from using just like the Shure. Is it 215s, the ones that everyone uses, the normal ones? We were all on those, and then we spent a bit of money and got these.
Cool.
And it is noticeable when you make the change, but it also takes a bit of getting used to because you do feel isolated. Like separating drums from like a real sound when you're just playing a kit, and then hearing it in a kind of a closed sound here. You have to do a bit of work to get it to sound like you're playing drums again.
Yeah.
Like being able to control the volume at which you're hearing yourself is very important, very, very important. But there's then this additional work that you end up having to do to get to a point where it just feels like a kit again, and everything being in the right place, being panned correctly. Like you hit a cymbal, it's there, but I'm hearing it there. There's all these things that you have to kind of tweak and figure out.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of like having ears until further in the future, being able to hear things, get some of these.
Cool. Yeah, and so you're not getting any atmosphere on stage at all through your in-ears? Any atmos at all?
My mix actually, it tends to be mostly overheads because the way that I like a drum kit to sound is as close to it would be in a room. So and that gives me that.
Yeah.
Then the close mics are just for a bit of reinforcement because a close mic sound, it's a very quick like thud tap. It's not all the power and all the transient that you want for it to actually sound like a drum. So very overhead heavy mix for me, and then like I say, everything else is just the kick's in there quite a bit, but it's clicky. It's the definition that I need. But going back to this butt kicker thing, it's not the oomph, the thump that you actually need for it to feel like you're playing the drums.
Yeah, and I guess a little bit of that is affected by the triggers because you're getting the microphone, you're just mostly getting that attack, right? And then the rest is kind of closed off.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that makes sense.
I do get a little bit of ambience from the stage, but that's mainly because the seal isn't like where it needs to be.
Drummer facing.
I'm drummer facing, and I actually like that sometimes. Like, I like just having the metronome and being able to hear the venue and being able to hear what the drum kit sounds like. So I don't know, it's probably not good for my ears though.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is, right?
That's what it is.
What'd you say?
Don't need my ears.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what's going directly into the overheads. It's these Meinl Cymbals. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Just go left to right, and we'll do best guesses what is up there.
Yeah, so straight out of the gate, I like thin cymbals. I always have. I've found that you might think that this wouldn't be the case, but thinner cymbals don't necessarily mean they're going to crack immediately. Even with heavy music, I'm not destroying all these cymbals. This is the first one of these Chinas I ever had. It's still going and it looks pretty new. Like there's nothing wrong with it. This has lasted the entire tour, and it's still looking pretty fresh. Everything here that you'll see is an extra thin even, or the thinner than that. Like these the dark cymbals that they do end up even being thinner than the extra thins.
Yeah.
So what's the one we got up here? I'm gonna have to stand up to see the name of it.
Byzant
extra dry thin.
Yeah.
So this guy, it's an accent crash that I use. Like I do a lot of riding over here on this big 22, and then I've got two 18s over here for accents. This one is a fast accent. This one's a little bit more musical, and it's going to last a bit longer. So you kind of hear that it's dry. It's not projecting massively. This one, sorry about your ears. There's more musicality in this. It's got a little bit more to give, but I don't necessarily want that all the time. I just need a fast accent, which is what this guy's doing over here. This is the extra thin Byzance, the 18. I ride between the two of them, but this one, I'm comfortable there. I don't like crossing over to there unless I need to. This is what's the splash that I'm using? sorry, Meinl, I don't know all the names of these things, and it's upside down. It's the 10-inch vintage splash. So again, that's super thin, really thin. Same as the guy up here. This is the vintage Crash 22, which is bigger than the ride I'm using. But it's wonderful. It creates a kind of a world of Crash. It's just this nice swelly, synthy sound almost. That's yeah. I can just create this area, and I love that. And it's also, it's got kind of a good bell on it as well. If you're into doing that kind of stuff. The stack combo that I'm messing with. So this is a bit of a concoction. It's not something that is yet a stack. Maybe one day it will be. Meinl.
I mean, it is today because you made it one.
It is today. So it's cool. a Byzance Trash Crash 16 up on top, and then the 12-inch Trash China on the underneath, and it was something that was recommended to me by my reps actually, because they looked at my old setup and they're like, well, this could work. And by Jove, it does. It's bloody brilliant. The one thing I do want to get out of it though is I want that. I don't want that little transient on the end. So sure, I could put a bit of tape on it, sure, but I want to work with Meinl and see if we can eke out that little transient in there. But other than that, it's absolutely perfect. You can't really hear that transient in a mix. You can't hear it live. You know, it's something that disappears. But in terms of the attack and the speed of this stack and the tone, it's great.
Yeah, and that's another 1% that you're chasing.
That's
just like
1%.
a little notch more.
And there's another thing with stacks, and I know it generally comes down to money, because when you first get a stack, it's generally a couple of broken cymbals that you throw together, right? It's like,
right.
I need a stack. I've got these two knackered cymbals. I'm going to chuck them together. And it works or doesn't work because of the profile of the cymbal. They have to kind of meet at the right point and like each other. These two like each other. I did try a bunch of different combinations, like the China on the top and the cymbal inverted. My old stack used to be inverted, which used to destroy sticks when you're hitting a crash that way. But this works really well. Again, it's durable. I haven't broken any components of this, and it sounds real nice. It's the one that's on the record. It's the one I use live. I don't see any reason to change it.
Very cool.
That's sticking with me. And then I've got two pairs of hats because I'm a freak. These are just for pedal hat, really. I don't really play too much of this anymore because I hate it. I like playing. I mean, that's the truth. I do.
Yeah.
I can't ever get like. I did then, but
yeah, it's perfect.
I struggle to do rim shots as loud as I want them to be when I'm playing cross-handed like this. Whereas if I'm playing open over here, then I can reintroduce the pedal hat, which is my metronome when I'm playing, and I can get as much height on this to get the rim shot as I want, right?
Yeah.
These are again the same family as these, I believe. These are the extra dry medium hats. These are the Foundry Reserve hats.
Okay.
And they're not on one of the chain things.
I was going to ask, are they on a cable?
They're just
They're set.
They just exist.
But you have the really cool, which I've seen before. That's the DW clutch, which lets you kind of set this. Can you kind of tell the folks back home what it does?
Yeah, so
it's a very cool thing.
Little DW clutch up here. So I actually have this set so that the hats are just touching, and then I'll lock it, and I can't open them anymore. But I can do it the other way. Oh, I can open it. I lied. I just lied. Straight out lied. So that's how they'll be when I'm just like playing. I actually need to set this up a different way in a minute, because tonight what's going to happen?
It's going to open.
It's going to do this. I'm going to be playing open hats, but that's kind of what you're meant to be able to do. Did you guys do this before?
Yeah, I did.
Ah,
no, I didn't at all, but I just saved the show. Last show of tour, see? Glad I'm here. The whole thing's going off the rails until we showed up.
Yeah, oh, another happy accident there. So this, you can open it up if you want. You can knock this with your stick, or someone, as we actually did during the recording, there's a bit where these hats open up, and Moss was just stood there, our bassist, just opening them slightly while I played. So you can just twist that, and it works real well.
Very cool.
Then I've got the Polyphonic Ride, which is a dream. It's a very crashable ride, very ridey and very belly. It's got all of the things that you can possibly want in a ride.
Yeah.
I was playing the Raw Bell Dry Ride when I was working with Sabian years ago, and I used to love that. And I didn't know that there would be anything in the Meinl like library of cymbals that was going to match that, get as close to that. And this thing beat it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. And it does. And the thing that I actually like is the bell is pretty big on this thing.
It's a really big bell.
Yeah, and I am clumsy and I miss the bell all the time on the raw bell that I used to use. But this thing, I don't have to stare at it to hit it,
Yeah.
which is nice.
It's there.
So it is there. And lastly, we got the Equilibrium china, which is Matt Garsker's signature china, which honestly is just how a china should sound. Like it doesn't completely destroy a mix. It's not going to completely kill a small venue if you haven't got overheads. It's incredibly musical china. Same kind of thing going on as this in terms of finish. So it's a thin vintage, I'd imagine, and they've just done some changes to it. But it really is a good china, and I think I mentioned a minute ago, I haven't broken one. Which, who hasn't broken a china? Like, they're normally the first thing to break.
Yeah.
And this has been going all through the record, all through 2 UK tours, a European Summer Festival run, all of this tour, and it's still fresh. I've got another one in the bag just in case, but I haven't had to change it. Same thing going on up here, 22-inch thin crash. It's lasted the entire tour. Like, yeah.
Like you said, not what you expect out of
Not what you expect
thin
out of a
cymbal.
Yeah, exactly that.
Awesome. And what are you not breaking them with? I see Meinl sticks.
You do. I'm not breaking my cymbals with Meinl sticks. I don't know if that's
Yeah, they're sympathetic to each other, I guess.
Sympathetic. Yeah, these are the standard long 5A from Meinl. I've gone all up and down the different stick weights and sizes, and you name it. I started out 7As when I first started, up through 5As, 5Bs, tried 2Bs for a bit, and then was like, hell no, my hands can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Back down to 5As, 3As, but I was getting tendon grief with the heavier sticks, and I went down to 5As, also because I play a Roland kit at home quite a lot. I broke a couple of the cymbals with the 3As, which you don't want to do. You don't want to break the Meinl cymbal, the Roland cymbals. So they said, try lighter sticks, but the lighter sticks feel weird. If you're used to a certain weight and that you can do everything you're used to doing with a certain weight of stick, all of a sudden you can't hit as hard with a lighter stick. But the longer stick and a slightly heavier stick as well, if you do need to hit hard, the stick can just kind of disappear into the hand a little bit. So most of the time I'm playing here, but if I need to hit hard, I'll let the stick go further into my palm, just past the pinky, and then I've got that throw to really kind of deliver it into the head. So I'm kind of using physics, I suppose.
Yeah, it's more weight in the shoulder for that throw to push the weight past the fulcrum, right? And get that extra power that you need.
You just said it way better than I could.
Which is great. Well, I've been on a similar journey, and I've been up and down, and I also found myself in a like 16.5-inch sticks. Yeah, which like, I don't know, it's just like a sweet spot.
Yep, and I miss cymbals way less. Like I'll do this sometimes with a short stick and I missed it, brilliant. But these are fantastic.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right? It's like literally a game of a 1/2 inch, and even if you have it in the stick, it completely changes all of it, dynamics and everything.
It does, and the great thing about these sticks, another great thing, is it's the best weight matching I've actually found in any company. I've used just about all of the drumsticks you can imagine, all the companies, and they all make great stuff, right? Of course, but I can pick up a stick off the floor next to me and not worry that, oh, that's got to be the snare one and that's got to be the crash one. Like, there's none of that. It's just they are the right weight all the time.
Yeah.
So that's a dream.
That's awesome. Well, that's another 1% that you've got to almost 100% perfect kit, because it's beautiful and it sounds great. And it's been a pleasure talking to you today about it.
You too, thank you.
Yeah. This has been the Drum Rundown. He has been Jay Postones from TesseracT, and we will see you all on the next one.